So it's taken me a decade and a half to basically learn this. But when it comes down to it and you realize this, everything changes for you. All this friction, all of these things you're feeling inside of your business that are just difficult and a slog and you fucking hate gets so much easier. And if you listen to this, if you truly freaking listen to this, because this is backed with a bunch of failure in my own personal experience, you will understand that business can be so damn easy. And it is that there are really only two ways to go about actually improving, becoming successful, and hitting all of those goals you create. So I'm going to break down what it is today. I have no idea how long this is going to go. But before we dive in, if you don't know who I am or why the hell you should listen to me, my name is Colby Wechter. I have been in the marketing world for that decade and a half. And I spent 9 of those years building an agency, a digital marketing agency, the global top 1,000, and then burnt out really, really bad. And so now I actually have my own company, Autonomy Agency, which helps burnt out agency owners or people who are just trying to get to the next level actually do that with clarity, courage, calm, peace, all those sorts of things. All right. And so all of this is rooted in my own failures. I never teach anything that I've never personally experienced. But there's this concept that I'm really coming to, is that it's kind of through like the stoic mentality of like the obstacle is the way and all this sort of stuff. But in short, I think everybody right now is looking for this whole done for you, solve my problem. Like if I get a coach, if I get a mentor, if I get all these things, there's going to be such an element of like, they're going to be the unlock. And I want to help you just like save your money, because I've even experienced this as I've transitioned with my own offer, right? You learn as you go. And so I want to be fully transparent here. There's an element of like what my original offer was that was way more successful than I thought it was going to be, to where I could tell as the relationship progressed that there was an interpretation where I was actually going to do the work for them. Even though it was always advertised as done with you, I can actually look at my own language and my offer objectively and see, oh, okay, I can actually see why they would react this way. And so my immediate thought is not, oh, that's a bad client or that they're at fault. I look at that and think, how do I completely dispel this thought process that I'm struggling in my business, I need help, I hire a mentor or a coach. That mentor or coach is going to be the reason I get to where I want to go. They're going to help me get from 20K to 50K months. They're going to help me go from 70-hour work weeks down to 20. I want to tell you right now, dedicating my life to this Autonomy Agency is going to be my life's work, from what I can tell, to help people have an amazingly calm agency, just business in general, where they can choose their own hours and quite literally have autonomy. They are perfectly comfortable, but autonomy is the ability to say yes or no without fear. But I want to tell you right now, advertising that I'm going the exact opposite from what my original offer was, which was a big promise and an unconditional guarantee that if for any reason you don't feel like this is working for you, you can demand all your money back. What we've been taught by $100 million offers by Alex Hormozi and all this other stuff, which over the last 5 to 6 years has basically perpetuated what I consider to be a massive fucking problem, is that people are buying the guarantee and the promise, and in so doing are actually taking their hands off the wheel and saying, all right, finally, I found someone to take all the responsibility for my success. And that is not how this shit works, okay? The reason I am like so intense and swearing about this is because you need to understand that anybody else is not responsible for your results, no matter how much you invest. And so, like I said earlier, business is incredibly simple. Let me tell you 2 ways, the only 2 ways that you will actually get to where you want to go. And then I'm going to give you the one ingredient that makes these actually happen, because without this ingredient, it is going to be hard as hell. And the 2 ways are really freaking simple. The first way is the long way, much like I did over my entire career up until recently, was I went alone. And because I'm an ambitious person and because I was always an A player everywhere I went, whether I created the agency or was an employee, I was always doing more. I was convinced that the more I work, the harder I work, the more I will get, the better my life will be. And it's bullshit. You understand this fundamentally right now. If you have not come across this watershed moment in your life where you are actively questioning, hey, this hasn't worked for me for years. I keep working harder. Why isn't my life better? Sit with that. You have been working harder and your life is not better. I can tell you right now, there is no point where if you continue on that path with that ideology, that your life improves. You have to come to terms that working harder does not equal a better life. And so the long way, which is exactly what I took, is quite literally just investing all of your time, your personal failures, frustration, sleepless nights, all that kind of stuff. When I burnt out twice in the same year, I thought I was going to die. That's what the long way can look like at its extreme, to actually learn where the unlock is. But there is no such thing as hustle now to have an amazing life later. What you're actually building fundamentally, if you were hustling every single day, are habits that are going to be incredibly difficult to break, even when you get the money. And the problem is when you get the money, your lifestyle changes, your ambition changes, your wants, hopes, and dreams change. And so now that money's not good enough. And so you double down on something that's already crazy hustle built and fractured, and you're about to burn out if you haven't already, because you built the habit. It's like 100 times harder to unlearn something than to learn something. And so that's part of my effort with this video, is I don't have a solution for you so much as I'm outlining two paths. The first one, the long way. You do everything yourself. You experience the failures firsthand. You feel like shit almost exclusively. And then you come to a point where you just can't take it anymore. And you understand that what you've been doing is not sustainable, but there's still value. You are still getting illumination in the long way because you learn so much. It's just really slow. It's really painful. It's really isolating, but it's still valuable. So what's the second way? You're probably like, oh man, well, that sounds terrible. What's the second way? What's the better way? I want to be clear, there's sacrifice every single time. In the long way, you are sacrificing quite literally your time, your mental health, all that kind of stuff in almost every case. If you are going the long way and you're not sacrificing those things, by all means, drop a comment on this video and tell me how you did it, okay? But the other way is quite simple. You are not eliminating struggle. You are not eliminating frustration. You are not eliminating a ton of the things you'll have included in the long way. The only difference is two things. If you get an experienced person who isn't selling you a $100 million offer with an insane guarantee and promise and says they're going to do everything for you and make your life better without you having to do anything, you actually find someone who treats you like a human being, who understands the landscape and reality and is in there in the trenches with you, but still says all of this is your responsibility. I am a guide, not a problem solver. And you pay that person, it will go faster. I cannot stress this enough. They have to be the right person. And if you are at all considering getting a coach, mentor, hiring a consultant, whatever it is, baseline requirement is that you actually vibe and believe in that person. If you are buying a funnel from someone you don't 100% believe in, you're going to hate that funnel. Everything works. Funnels work, ads work, organic works, DMs work, everything freaking works to build your business. And so if everything works, the actual mechanism, the service, means next to nothing. You need to find what works for you. And the way you find what works for you, if you have a knowledge gap, I don't know how to get to the next level, is you better hire somebody, not just for their experience, but for their core values and beliefs. You need to vibe with this person. I cannot express this enough. And so the only difference between the long way, and I'm not even going to call it the short way, I'm going to call it the less long way, is instead of doing everything on your own and paying with your time, you're paying with actual money, your investment. Because the only way for you to be completely invested is for you to actually, I don't want to say go all in, but if you are just getting free mentorship and hoping that that changes your life, it's possible. It's unlikely. Without your own personal investment, it is going to be really, really hard for you to go all in and see it through. I grew up crazy poor, and so I paid for all my college on my own. If I wouldn't have done that, if I would have been bankrolled by some relative or whatever, I can tell you right now, I would have gotten worse grades. I can tell you right now, I would have not used that experience to actually shape my life in a positive way. I was poor all throughout college, but I was freaking invested. And while I don't use that degree at all, I can reference so many parts of my life that benefited from the experience, that season of having no money, being an adult for the first time. And so if you actually want to go in and improve your life, there's only the long way, doing everything yourself and struggling through it and still seeing illumination at the end. You just don't know when it's coming. There's no guarantee. Or the less long way, where you speed it up. It does not go quick every time, but if you get the right person you vibe with, you're there and you're going to feel a lot more momentum. But I told you earlier that you need one ingredient to make either of these work. And if you are hearing all this stuff and you're thinking, wow, this is incredibly simple. Yes, it is. The problem with so many business owners is that we make it more complicated than it needs to be. So the only ingredient you need to execute either of these, and the reason it's taking so long is probably because you do not have this ingredient, is self-belief. I had a workshop recently where I called it the anti-suck sales workshop. And I haven't been doing sales very long, but the reason the workshop came about is because I was helping other people one-on-one, and I could tell that my philosophy was hitting with them. And so I taught it all in one. But the one thing I told them that is paramount, I basically just asked a question to the group: would you buy your thing? And if it is not an automatic yes, if it is not like the thing I have right now is exactly what I would have desperately needed years ago, you lack self-belief. And if the person who creates it lacks belief, how could you ever expect other people to have total belief in it? So to keep it there, to keep the video as short as possible, there are really only two things you need to understand. Which path do you want to choose? Do you want the long way, do everything yourself? Do you want the short way, less long way? That requires investment and going all in and trust, so much trust, which is why you need to vibe with the person you trust in. That's one. And the other one is, without self-belief, it's always hard. Self-belief is the number one currency any entrepreneur can have in their pocket, because everything works. And so if you believe in what you're doing, everything works. You will find exactly how to be who you're meant to be. But without self-belief, it will always feel hard. I hope this video helps. If you're in this point, know you can always get out of it. One final word is that when we're in the weeds, we just cannot poke our head above those weeds and actually see that we have so much opportunity around us. And so if you're lacking self-belief, there is zero things wrong with going back to not only the offer you've created, the business you've created, but the actual person you're selling to. And I'm doing this right now. When I got those responses from clients, it wasn't their fault that they thought I was going to do more. It was my offer's fault. It was who I was selling to's fault. And now I'm creating something that is so deep in belief. I don't even talk about my offer and people are working with me. And I desperately want you to feel the momentum I'm feeling, and I'm no smarter than you. I just realized that simplicity sells. No big promises, no guarantees, just self-belief and a hell of a lot of value. You got this.